Good thing it's a podcast because you can't see me picking my nose. Episode 30. Spot me. All right, sit back, relax, shut up. 10-minute off-road podcast is about to begin. Welcome to the 10-minute off-road podcast. I'm your host, Nikki G. I'm here to inform, delight, and entertain you about all things off-road for the next 10 minutes or so. Why 10 minutes? Well, that's what the timer's set for. All right, so I want to take a few minutes to, I've got some comments to read. People have emailed me and commented on my YouTube videos. Trashy Panda 1 says, I listen on the Podbean. Well, thank you, Trashy Panda 1. I appreciate you listening. Unfortunately, I'm moving my podcast from Podbean to Anchor, because Podbean only gives me so much free bandwidth, and I've just about filled it up, and Anchor seems to be the better fit for me. Lou writes in, keep up the good work, Nikki. Wheel what you got. And Lou also gave me some jokes, which I'm not going to tell you because I'm using them. But Lou, if you're listening, I'm taking full, I guess not responsibility, credit. I'm taking full credit for your jokes, as I do with everybody who sends me jokes. Lots of people send me in jokes for this podcast and the Jeep Talk Show. If you don't listen to that, you should. I do a little shtick on there, and people send me in jokes all the time that I read on the air. And I'll tell you this up front: I appreciate the jokes. Send them in to me. I could always use them, but up front, you'll never get credit for it. That secret will die with me. They're my jokes now. But thank you, I appreciate it, and thank you, Lou. I appreciate the help. All right, so welcome to the show. Tonight I would like to talk about spotting. Yes, spotting. Not that kind of spotting, get your mind out of the gutter. But the spotting is you're going over an obstacle and you kind of need an extra set of eyes to see what's going on. I am a firm believer in spotting. I think you should have a spotter on everything. Well, I've been on trips where the lead person gets out and spots everybody up through the obstacle. And I've been on trips where nobody gets out and spots. And I gotta say, it's kind of nerve-wracking not having a spotter. I enjoy having a spotter. I like the spotter. I like the reassurance, mainly because I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of winging it. But not having a spotter kind of forces me to pay attention a little bit more to what I'm doing. And I've been on trips where you spot the person behind you over the CB. You just kind of like look over your shoulder, look out the back window, and tell them what's going on. That I didn't enjoy too much because, believe it or not, I don't like spotting. It's very stressful to me, and it seems like another added level of responsibility, which I hate responsibility. I just kind of like to skirt through life enjoying it. I mainly don't like spotting because I don't know what I'm doing. I really don't. I just drive through the woods at breakneck speeds and have a good time. Trying to get over an obstacle, I can't really visualize, well, if you do this, if you go up on this, that wheel's going to do that, this is going to happen. And I don't want to, although if there's an incident due to poor spotting, it's really not the spotter's fault. The ultimate responsibility comes to the wheeler. I've been told before, my good friend, that just because somebody spots you doesn't mean you have to adhere to their advice. But then again, if you don't adhere to their advice and something happens, it's on you. If you adhere to their advice and it's wrong, then it's still on you. You should have a little bit of common sense to know what's going on. It's kind of a catch-22. I can't remember where I was going with all this, but spotters. I rely heavily on spotters. I enjoy having a spotter. If somebody comes out and wants to tell me what to do, I'll follow them almost every time, without question. And that brings me to this week's topic that I really want to talk about is bad spotters. One time I had a guy, I didn't know, he wasn't in our group. He just appeared out of nowhere, almost like an apparition, and started spotting me. And I didn't realize it at the time. It took me quite a few minutes to figure out that this guy didn't know anything. And he was getting me into trouble. And, well, I was getting myself into trouble by listening to him. That would be an more accurate way to say it. And finally, I kind of lost my cool, which is unheard of or very rare. And I told him, I said, well, you just shut up. And I've never seen the guy again, but if you're listening to this, I apologize. I shouldn't have said that. But I meant every word of it. You are horrible. So what do you guys do when you come up upon a bad spotter? Do you just kind of say, yeah, no, I'm going to do this and be cordial about it? Because I try to be cordial, but the smart ass in me comes out very often. And plus, I enjoy telling people to shut up. Now, who doesn't? But bad spotters, they're out there. What do you guys do with them? Another spotter I don't follow it and kind of like is the guy holding the beer can. I'm all for drinking. I don't drink personally for health issues. But if you guys want to crack open a beer at the end of the day, that's no problem. I have no problem with that. And I think 99% of the world doesn't have a problem with that. But you shouldn't be drinking and driving. And if you're riding in somebody's vehicle, spot and stuff, I firmly believe that alcohol is best served at the beginning of the trail and at the end of the trail, not during the trail. So if you're holding a beer can, I'm not following you. And I've left trail rides before because people cracked open beers at lunchtime, which, again, that's on them. No problem with that, but I don't want to be any part of it. I do not want to witness carnage, and I definitely don't want to have to write statements up. If you've ever seen my handwriting, I avoid having to write a witness statement at any cost. What I do when I come across a bad spotter, which only happened a handful of times, I just kind of wing it. I take their advice and I kind of mix it. And most of the times when you need spotting, there's somebody else standing by spotting. You never have just one spotter. Every standby, every onlooker feels the need to spot sometimes. I try not to. When I'm watching somebody climb over an obstacle, I either got my hands on a camera or my hands are behind my back. I don't want anybody to mistake me for spotting them, because believe me, I don't know if I told you guys this, but I really don't know what I'm doing when I'm rock crawling. I just kind of wing it. Usually, if you just take a few runs at it with heavy on the throttle, you'll get over it eventually. You'll get over it or you break something. Either way, it's fun to watch. But back to spotting. Ways to handle bad spotters. You could always just ignore them. You could come up with some fancy lie like I couldn't see you. I don't see that well. Which is really funny if you're on the trails driving and you tell somebody that you really can't see well. They give you a funny look. Thankfully, that bad spotters are far and few in between. Usually when you're going out on a trail ride, there's always somebody very experienced that loves to spot. And they're good at it. And I've been fortunate enough to have some of the best people I know off-road spotting me and giving me advice. And it makes me a better wheeler. All right, that's about all the time we have for tonight. You can catch and download the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast on Apple Podcast, Google Play, Podbean, and YouTube. You can follow and or contact the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast on the Gram, the Twitter, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. You can email us at 10minuteoffroad@gmail.com. That's 10minuteoffroad@gmail.com. All right, until next time, this is Nikki G saying, wheel what you got and be happy.